6-2 talks about proportions. Now, we want things to be proportionate. In life, we like things to be proportionate. You know, we don't want our head to be, disproportional to our body, right? Or sometimes we see these big weightlifters, these big bulky guys, right? They look disproportional. So we want to learn about how do we know for sure if things are proportional or not. Well, there is a cool little trick, and it's called the cross product trick. Okay? In a proportion, the cross products are equal. In a proportion, the cross products are equal. For example, if I say to you, does 6/9, is that equivalent to 8/12? Well, you know what? Sometimes in fraction world, we can say, oh, we double the bottom, double the top. Oh yeah, that's an equivalent fraction. Well, sometimes like this, 9 to 12, well, there isn't a whole number that I can multiply 9 by to get to 12 to see if there's the same factor on the numerator and denominator. And this was where the cross product trick comes in. If 6 times 12, if the top of this times the bottom of that, if 6 times 12 is the same as the bottom of this times the top of that, 9 times 8, if those are equivalent to each other, then it is a proportion. And in this case, 6 times 12 is 72, and 9 times 8 is 72. So you know it's a proportion. So, algebraically, AD has to equal BC. Good.
Oh, that's like before.
You're right. You're right.
Yes.
A proportion is an equality of two ratios. A proportion is an equality, Jesse, Evan, equality of two ratios. So in this situation, what are the cross products? If I have A over B equaling C over D, what are the two cross products? AD and BC. Now you might say, Miss Kate, does it matter if I were to do like BC first and then AD second? No. As long as one's on top, one's on bottom, and they're on the opposite ratios. All right, using the multiplication property of equality now, I can solve for one of these positions. If I know that 2 over 7 is something y over 14. Now you're going to say, Miss K, I know the answer because 7 times what is 14? 2. And then when we did fractions, whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do the top. So we know that 2 times 2 is going to be 4. So in our head, we know this answer should be 4, right? Okay. Now this is the process, though, that I want to make sure you know. You know the answer should be 4. So as we do the process, let's see if we do the process right so that our answer is 4. All right, so we are going to do the cross products here. So I'm going to say line down the equal sign, right? Multiply to get y by itself. I'm going to multiply each side by 14. Right? So the 14s will cancel each other out. And then we have to pretend 14 is 14 over 1. And then what is 2 times 14? 28. 7 times 1 is 7. And you probably could have canceled this off earlier, but 28 divided by 7?
4.
y equals 4. Is that what we thought we were going to get? We should get?
No, we thought we were going to get 2.
No, we thought we were going to get 4.
2 times 7 is 14.
Okay.
2 times 14. So what do we
So we multiplied each side by 14.
Yes.
Oh. All right. Okay, now using the cross products, and it'll only be 25 minutes early, by the way. Okay, using the cross products rule, now instead of the line down the equal sign, we know that 2 times 14 has to equal 7 times y. Now, what is 2 times 14? 28. So 28 has to equal 7y. This is where we do line down the equal sign. 7y. How do I get y by itself? Divide each side by 7. So 28 divided by 7 is, voila, 4. Is that what we wanted to get? It sure is. All right, let's flip it over. Jesse. Jesus. Testing for a proportion. Do the ratios 3/5 and 21/35 form a proportion? Explain. So right now I'm asking, is this a good proportion? Is this an equivalent proportion? So we're going to test it by writing it as a proportion, and then we're going to write the cross product. So 3 times 35. Does that equal, notice we have a little question mark over top. Does that equal 5 times 21? No. 3 times 35 is 105. 5 times 21 is 105. And do they form a proportion?
Yes.
They do form a proportion because the cross products are equal. Yes.
Why do you not do any of your notes now? Like, why don't you
I'll do some of my notes.
Are they hard to make?
Sometimes when I do a lot with ratios and writing numerators and denominators, it just takes a really long time to make my own on the computer.
You don't have to write as much.
I know you don't have to write as much. But when I can do my own, then I'll do my own. Okay, measurement. 100 rods is about 275 fathoms. To the nearest fathom, how many fathoms is 25 rods? Huh. Well, they help us set it up a little bit. We know the length in rods over the length in fathoms. So, here's my first ratio. 100 rods is about 275 fathoms.
What's a fathom?
It's a distance. It's 6 feet of water is a fathom.
Fathom?
Okay, now we want to know to the nearest fathom how many fathoms is 25 rods. So my rods goes on top or bottom?
Top. Yeah, top.
And we'll use a D for distance.
25.
for our a D, the letter D for distance. Because it says if we want to know we want to know the distance for 25 rods. So the distance for 100 rods is 275 fathoms. We want to know the distance in fathoms for 25 rods. So a quarter of the rods. Well, let's write out the cross products. 100 times D has to equal 275 times 25. Right? 100D equals 275 times 25. So line down the equal sign. 275 times 25 is I'm going to just write it up top here. 6,875. Now to get D by itself, we're going to divide each side by 100, right? So 6,875 divided by 100 it's exactly 68.75. So it's about 69. All right, let's do some examples here. Solve each proportion. So the way you want to set this up is using cross products. So this is going to be 3H. And you write 9 times 2 because that's the other cross product. So 3H is equal to 18. H. Yep, 3H. Yep, 3H and 3H. Yep. All right. So 3H equals 18. So I want to get H by itself. What are we going to do? Divide by 3, divide by 3. H equals 6. Yeah, pretty easy, right? All right, let's do B. How do I set it up? Five T equals good. And 4 times 55 is 220. Line down the equal sign. How do I get T by itself? Divide by 5, divide by 5. T equals 44. That's all right. All right. How do I set this one up, Patricia? 6D equals 22 times 21. Boy, Patricia, your voice sure got lower. That's all right, Jordan. So 6D equals 462. Divide by 6. D equals 77. When we're done, when we're done.
Jesse got it already.
That's 789.
No. That's my birthday. 6D.
You guys, whew, you think it it was Friday or something. All right. We got a couple more, guys. A couple more. Number 2. Tell whether the two ratios form a proportion. So what do they have to equal? How do we know if they form a proportion? We know that 6 times 6 has to equal 9 times 4. Just because there's two, they're asking us to compare this ratio to this ratio. Does 36 equal 36? Yes, and you could say because 36 equals 36. That's your rationale.
What is that thing next to 36?
36 equals 36, and this is an arrow. Your explanation, all it has to be is yes, they equal 36. Or the cross products equal 36. To be fully. Spencer? Okay, how about B? 15 times 7 has to equal 20 times 5. 15 times 7 equals 105. 20 times 5 is
20 times 105.
and your explanation just has to be because 105 does not equal 100. Okay, cross products here. 7 times 30 has to equal 12 times 17.5. Well, what is 7 times 30? 210, good. 12 times 17.5 is 210. Yes, because they both equal 210. All right, last one. Fathoms, right? To the nearest rod, about how many rods is 100 fathoms? So we want to know rods to fathoms. Okay? Rods to fathoms. Now, what is, looking at example 3, 100 rods is 275 fathoms. Rods over fathoms. 100 rods is 275 fathoms. But what do we want to find out? How many rods is 100 fathoms? This is an R for rods. It is a little box. Okay, so we have to use our cross products here. So 100 times 100 equals 275 R.
Doesn't that equal like
10,000. 275 R. How do I get R by itself? Divide by 275. Good job. So 10,000 divided by 275. R is going to be approximately 36.36. And the 36 repeats. And it said to the nearest rod. So is 36.36 Oop.
Yeah.
There we go. Gonna round up or round down? Down. So 36 rods.
We have to memorize rods.
No.
I said 25.